All right, welcome back to another episode of Realty Resilience. I'm your host, Dave Nations, and I've got another phenomenal guest today, Justin Taylor. He is a good friend of mine and a fellow real estate agent here in St. Louis. Justin, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Having a great day.
Wonderful. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this with us, and looking forward to you sharing your story. If you wouldn't mind, just kind of jump in here and share with our listeners a background about what you were doing before you got into real estate and how you ended up in real estate.
Sure. So I moved into St. Louis after I graduated college. I got into selling exotic cars. And then after a bunch of life changes, a divorce, and a little bit of a troubling past, I fell into real estate, answered an ad, believe it or not, off Craigslist to be someone's assistant, and went to go to his office, and he told me I should get my real estate license. So got my real estate license. He was a discount broker. And once I got my license with him, just started moving forward, calling people, believe it or not, out of the paper.
How did that go?
I got my first listing on my first day. So I literally had
How many
someone
people did you have to call to get that listing out of the paper on your first
I was
day?
like 6 dials in, and he was running like a flat fee service back then. And I called, and literally these people are still clients of mine today. I called them and I was like, here's what we're going to charge you. They're like, great, we'll sign up. And they gave me their credit card number. Literally, we're billing them over the phone. and we got them signed up, got them on the MLS, and got them to market.
The other important part of this is, what year was that?
Oh, it was 19 years ago. It was 2006, 2007. So yeah.
I think that's a crucial time because the market 2006 was at the height, right? And it starts to come down and going into 2007 there. And you're doing these flat fee listings and closing people over the phone before you even get there.
Yeah. So we ended up, I ended up going out and meeting with him, but it was just a learning curve. I didn't have any training. He didn't train me for any of the stuff that I had going on. He didn't even use a valid listing contract. He wasn't using St. Louis Association forms. And so
I guess we won't say the name of the company because I know what it is.
Yeah, no, I won't.
They're not around anymore.
He gave me an opportunity. I ran with it and grew with him for a long time. We got out of the flat fee model pretty quick, but it's how I grew my career.
So you just saw an ad in the paper, decided to jump into real estate, and basically taught yourself what you know. So you go into that, and you're there for how many years were you doing the flat fee thing, working with him?
I was with him, I would say about 5 years or so. We basically got started. The background that I had, we sold everything online. The exotic cars I sold, we sold online. So when I came into real estate, it was really interesting. The market here wasn't there, meaning there wasn't like great photography, great online marketing, like all this stuff. So we had everything. There was kind of this online piece to it that I started working with when we started growing it out. Even photography, like real tours, and we didn't have like virtual tours. I had a company that I had bought into, like a small franchise piece of, to be able to do like these 360 tours in properties like back in the day, and kind of just grew and built my own thing within its company and kept getting referrals from people and growing my business through word of mouth. I didn't grow up in St. Louis. And so I didn't have anybody here to call. I didn't have any family, friends, or anybody else. So all the business I was getting out of the paper. And I can't even remember the first CRM that I had, but I could track anybody if I'd called them through the paper, through their phone number, through this basic CRM, and take notes on them and like what I had done, or like, if we had a conversation before that their mother was sick, I could bring it up and, really get some relation to them, and then hopefully get my foot in the door with them.
So while you were there, and you did that for 5 years, you were on your own the whole time, just doing your thing, buyers, sellers, doing all that, correct?
So we had offices together. They were in the same office building, but we had separate offices. And yeah, I was running all of my own stuff. So basically during that time, in about year 2 or 3, the office that we were in was foreclosed on, which is now the current St. Louis Police Department. It was foreclosed on. That used to be Forever Enterprises PST. And that building was foreclosed. So I stayed in downtown Clayton and he moved home. And so I literally used to get my checks from the title company, deposit them in the business checking account, and go up by his front door of his house and pick up my checks back in the day.
That's really funny. So then when you left there, what happened? Why'd you decide to leave? It sounded like it was an amazing place. I can't imagine why you would make a change.
So we went through a Missouri Real Estate Commission audit, but I took us through the audit. And so Missouri Real Estate Commission sent us a letter, and I made sure all of our files were ready to go. They came in to go through our audit. I walked us through it. And at that point I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I can broker this on my own. I had people that I had done numerous deals with that asked me if I was ever going to open my own brokerage. I had my own office space at that point that I had my own lease signed for. And it was just like, it was time to move on. Like, I'd outgrown where I was. We needed to grow, and I needed to grow, who I was and everything else. And it was just time to leave. So I got my broker's license and literally stayed exactly where I was. And I opened the agency from there.
And so then when you started, was it just you when you rolled it out?
No, it was myself. Brian Tash came on immediately, who's currently with us. There was two other agents, and then I had just hired an assistant, my first assistant at that time. So there was a few of us getting into those offices. So
Now, did Brian come on as a team member of yours or come on to join the brokerage?
he came on to join the brokerage. So Brian's always been an independent with me.
And say I know Brian as well, and I was going to ask if he was on your team. You guys, we were together for a long time, but he just came in and joined the brokerage and has been
Yep.
there as an independent as well. Okay.
No, Brian's just done incredible since he started with me. I mean, he continues to grow every year. He's got his team called the Tash Agency now. And I mean, they're just absolutely killing it and doing a great job.
Yeah. Excellent. So you decided to go out on your own, build this brokerage. What's the vision? What do you, I mean, other than, obviously you're already doing all this for somebody else. Why do it for somebody else? I'm going to do it for myself instead. But is there anything else behind that you're like, this is why I'm going to do this. This is what this is going to look like, that you set out when you did this?
I wanted to have a boutique brokerage here in St. Louis. I felt that there were so many different franchises and stuff in the area, and even a lot of the smaller companies in town have been bought out at that point. I didn't know what I didn't know. I think early on in my career, if I looking back, I'm obviously thankful for my journey and where it's taking me, but early on, I would have gotten onto a team, joined a brokerage that had better training, learned a lot of things a lot quicker in my career. But what I didn't know half of that stuff. And so coming into my own brokerage and like what I wanted to be able to build out a small boutique brokerage that was obviously an amazing place to work and be able to build something that was brand agnostic to this town and not, at that moment based off of my name. So, and, building out the agency. So that way people had a place where they could go that wasn't named after somebody or anything else and build their brands and things they wanted to under it.
It's great. So you thought big enough, because I think it's a big thing that we'll start a team, Nations Network, and it's named after my name, whereas yours is the agency and it's generic, so people can come in and they feel like they have ownership in it, or they don't feel like they're always under the shadow of somebody else.
That was the whole idea with the brokerage. Obviously, when I got big enough to where I started to build my own team, I created my own team, which is the Taylor Group. Yes, it's branded after my name and who I am as I continue to build it. But as the brokerage itself, I just didn't want it under any specific name. And that way it wasn't that, somebody like Brian Tash working for, the Taylor agency or whatever it was,
Totally.
naming the brokerage something else. Yeah.
I got it. So once you opened the brokerage, how long were you still solo, or had you started bringing in agents for your own team at this point? You were
Probably
shifting into
close
the
to
team.
another 5 to 7 years I ran solo. It wasn't until my son was born about 7 years ago that everything really shifted for me.
Okay. So you were running solo when you were and you were doing it on your own. What's the most you were closing in a year? You were killing it, right?
30, about, I think my best year, I was right at like 31 million
How many
solo.
how
That
many
was,
units is that?
I couldn't even tell you back then. I barely even tracked half of that stuff. I was just like, I'm making money, whatever. But that was me on every showing, every listing appointment. There was no buyer's agents, no anything else on those numbers.
Any admin?
Yeah, I've always had an admin, somebody like helping me get my listings up, do all that, process paperwork, take care of clients. So I've always had that piece to it. But it wasn't until that was kind of the year. And plus with my son being born, I was like, I've got to get relief. I was just too many hours out.
Okay. So your son's born, you need time back. What do you do?
Yep. So I'd always been big in, I've always stayed in front of technology with real estate. And I got into coaching during that time and I was with a coaching group and I was always in front of tech. So we've used Ylopo for years is one of the tech platforms that we use. So I was out on their early conferences, bringing in Facebook leads, Google pay-per-click leads. We also ran Zillow. And there was a guy that I met at a showing that was covering for somebody else, and that's currently on my team. And I met him, and we ended up bringing him in as like basically the first buyer's agent for me, and really just start working leads through our system and stuff, so he could start to build his own business, but also start to help out with mine. And so I started to, build a team, but I didn't really have the background of like how to build this team, like the structure of what was going to work. And so when I brought him on, I just told him like, this is going to be messy. We're going to make mistakes, but we need to grow. I've got a lot of people coming in the door, but I need help managing this. And he did an incredible job. We started converting, started getting things moving, and then we started making key hires after that.
So the no structure piece and just jumping into this, how important do you think that is for people that are listening? Do I need to put, because I coach other agents, I talk to a lot of people, people will be like, well, we don't have anything built out. Well, before I do this, I gotta build this and I gotta have this. In your mind, is that true? Or are you like, let's just, if I find the right person, I'll be fine. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I was absolutely I think the biggest thing we all deal with is imposter syndrome, that we're not good enough to bring on another person and deal with those things. And for me, I was hell bent on building out the back of my house, training, stuff like that. And I was at an event that it really kind of changed me with John Sheplack. And there was a guy at my table, and he was just kind of this goofy guy. And he was sitting there and he's like, I just hired 5 agents. I'm like, great. And we were at this thing called Operations Playbook. And I was like, you did? And I was like, so do you have a, back of house? Are you training? He's like, no. And like, do you have this? And he's like, no. Do you have this? And he just kidding, no. And I was like, how are you going to do this? He goes, I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Kind of like where you started at, just, you
Yeah.
just threw you
And
in.
but I was so at that point in my career, I was like, I wanted everything to be so perfect and so put together. And what I learned was didn't need to be perfect. You needed to get the people on. I had plenty of value to provide to somebody. And then getting the right people in the right seats for my organization was how I was able to build the things out that I really needed to do. It's almost impossible to sell real estate all day and build out a back of house and work on training and everything else for a company you don't even have in existence yet. So it's better to, basically just go, bring the person on, find what's needed, get other people to help you, hire people, get the right people in place. And that was always a fear of mine, is the hiring. Like I always want to make sure if I'm bringing on salary, that I'm able to afford it. I never want to have to let go of anybody because like the company wasn't making it. And so that was always a fear of mine. But what I learned through time was every time I hired somebody, obviously my sales, business, and everything just came right up with it. And we grew as they provided value to the company.
Hiring, how are you finding them? How did you made a comment a few times about, well, as long as you find the right people, and you're
Yeah.
gonna continue to grow, you're a busy guy selling 31 million solo and then have a kid. How do you have time to find somebody, A, and how do you have time to find the right person? Because there's plenty of people that you could have just said, yeah, cool, you got a license, let's go. You met this person at a showing. It seemed like I guess it worked out, but how do you really know?
Yeah, early on, I had a lot of the agents on my independent side brought on friends, people they knew. They're having a great time working with us. Thought it was a great organization. So that was early on. As I got moving and growing my team, the biggest key hire that I made, I was out to lunch with a client of mine. He was like, if you ever hire a position and the position leaves and you have to go fill the position, you will always be an employee. And when I got back from that lunch, I had met with my assistant. She had just interviewed somebody and said, hey, you need to meet this guy tomorrow. And I'd kind of already hired somebody for the position. And I was like, well, let's bring him in. So I hired 2 people at that time for 1 seat. And that was the key change in my life. One of the people that I brought on as my director of ops that's currently with me, Dustin Meredith, who's really changed everything in my organization and helped grow my organization. And just by hiring him, one of my other key hires that came in was his leasing agent that leased him his apartment. And then people that she knew. So we usually have friends, somebody we know in the business, somebody that's attracted to the organization, that see us, that we're getting people in. So early on, we were getting people off of Indeed, believe it or not. So just literally had ads out and running. That's where I was getting people.
So, and they're applying, are they already licensed, or they're wanting to get licensed and you're setting them up to go take the test and go through all that stuff, or both?
Almost everybody who brought on is licensed or they're finishing the end phase. We, through time, not early on, we would interview people early on that were getting licensed, but we realized what a waste of time that was. We will not interview, we will not meet with anybody unless they have a real estate license, or they're like in the last phase of like the testing. Really, we need the license because I've seen people sit for that test 7 times. I don't know how, but they have.
I think the highest I've heard is 27, but yeah.
Probably shouldn't be in the business if you took 27 times to pass that test. So
Persistence, it's good
yeah,
follow-up. I don't know, there's something there.
follow up. But anyways, all good. Yeah, persistence for sure. So yeah, that's one of our requirements. I mean, obviously, somebody having a license, and then we have a whole process we put people through now to get them into our organization and how we bring people into our world.
So, when you brought in those first few hires, did you have an org chart? Did you have something kind of mapped out that you were kind of building into, or was it on an as-needed basis for you, for your team? You brought in the buyer's agent, you already had the admin. How did you determine at what point you were leveraged enough, or you needed more leverage for yourself based on your growing family?
It was ready, fire, aim, right? So we just brought people on, and as we continued to find people, we would bring on what we felt, obviously through the interviews, we would continue to bring on the right people. We never felt stalled because it didn't turn out to be a buyer's agent position. We actually run high lead gen. So we have leads that come in, we train on conversation, and we have our agents convert those leads. So it's not a matter of me bringing in enough buyers for the agents to work with and how many people I can hire. I could, at any given point, turn up my lead flow and continue to bring on agents. So it's just getting the right people in the right seats, getting them through training, and then also getting them on calls.
Okay, so dive into that for me on this lead flow. What does that look like? So I come in and I start, so I'm getting trained to convert leads. Now, am I converting those and they're buyers and sellers and I'm getting to work with them, or I'm converting them and I'm teeing you up for that, or what does that look like?
So if you were to, so on day one, you have to call. So one of the first things that we do in our training is on day one, we make it very well known in our interviews that we're heavy on calls. And if you're not comfortable making phone calls after we train you on how to make these phone calls, conversations that need to be had, we're not going to be working with you because we realize your success here won't be that high. So if somebody comes in, immediately they're on calls. If somebody like yourself, brand new to the business, sets an appointment on day one, obviously we would be out with you. We would have a mentor on our team that would go out with you to your appointment to be able to help you through it. But you're able to make money literally day one. It's not that you would make a commission or you would make anything on it.
So have I been trained to say anything on day one when I'm making these calls,
Yeah,
or it's
absolutely.
just like
Yeah.
here's the phone, go ahead
Yeah.
and start
No.
calling some people.
Well, we will give you the basic scripts and like what, the list that you're calling through and stuff. But we want to just see the effort to get on the phone. We know people are going to fumble. We know obviously they're probably not going to set an appointment on day one, but they have to be willing to pick that phone up and realize that the person on the other end is not going to bite them.
So if I'm brand new, you're a pretty big numbers guy, I think, and like to track a lot of things. If I'm brand new in what you've seen, I know you only had 6 calls to get your first appointment out of the paper. What do you see as is kind of a norm these days for how many calls do I have to get through before I'm getting that appointment? And maybe it's different because you guys got a lot of leads and a really good lead flow that comes in, I think, from our past conversations. But yeah, on average, what do you think it calls to an actual appointment?
Our latest hire who just came on this past month, Chris, he was, I think, night one having great conversations with people, at least with nurture follow-ups. And then I think within his first week, he had his first appointment set. So, and right now he's out on appointments, and those are like what we call pond leads. So older leads, nobody had converted. So we let them get into the pond and do what they can to get any business they can out of there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then from there, we've talked about hiring, we've talked about leads. If I'm thinking about building a team, I think I'm doing well, solo agent. What do I need to be thinking about in order to build a team? What's kind of the next steps for me, in your opinion? All the things you've learned over all these years now, right? Because I think you're kind of an anomaly in that you were just thrown into the fire. You figured it out. You did really well at the place you started at, with nothing really, and be able to have a lot of success. But now I'm on my own and I can do, 10 million a year, 12 million a year, and I want to hire somebody. What should I be doing, in your opinion?
I
Or do
think
I
the
need to
first
keep
mistake
doing more because you were doing 30 million before I hire somebody?
Yeah, I think the first mistake people make is they make the jump too early. There's two things that you hear. Agents want to get out of production and they want to build a team. And I'm still in production to this day, and they jump way too early before it's necessary to make a move. So I would always evaluate the business that I have. I did my model completely different. Most people are straight buyer's agents, although that was how we hired in on that first piece. We really build the agents their own business. I still run all my own clients right now. And our agents coming in are really building their own businesses under me with our mentorship on our team. So it's a very different business model than most. So I would evaluate it because I've seen a lot of agents that have built teams and they've given away half their buyers and they're having very rough years because they were making a lot of money working with buyers. That's usually the model that you see people go with. It's like, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop showing properties. I'm going to go straight to listings. Well, if you have no systems to go get listings besides people referring them to you, and you're not outbound calling to people, you can run into a real quick problem if most of your business coming in. So it all depends on how you want to structure. Again, I got really heavy into tech and CRMs, follow-ups, drip campaigns, you name it, home evaluations was to bring people to the top because I was always so concerned that my business was just based off of someone talking about me. And most people, all they say is like, well, my business is just so referral based. We go to masterminds and everything else. And like, well, it's just referrals. Well, it's like, that doesn't help the new guy that's 22 years old, whose friends just all graduated with $200,000 in debt from college. So how does somebody that's younger, or how does a 27-year-old person that wants to break in that's not from St. Louis do it? And the simple answer is you pick up the phone and you start calling. The second question they're going to have is who am I going to call and what am I going to say? And those are the answers. And that's why we're here, is to give people those answers and to be able to help them and train them on the conversations to get them into production and make them successful real estate agent. It doesn't matter who they know. They can turn it on. If the economy tanks, doesn't matter. Our agents can pick up the phone, make phone calls on the leads and people that are acting like buyers and sellers within our systems and make money. So to me, I would make sure you've got enough production going on, and then find the system that works for you and your business. My model isn't everybody's model. It's not what I would tell a luxury agent to do. It's not that I would tell certain people to do it, but it just depends on what model you're looking to do to grow your business and how fast you want to scale. Leads help you scale faster, in my opinion. Although I've seen a million people with referral businesses, I believe you guys are mainly referral and stuff. You guys have done an amazing job with events and stuff like that to grow your business through referrals. But a lot of the teams that I've seen grow exponentially quick, they're able to do it through leads.
So what are your lead sources that you're able to funnel this much in and provide that support to people that are jumping into this?
So our lead sources all along have always been, so our biggest lead sources that we've had coming in would be Ylopo, ZBuyer, Google pay-per-click. We run Google LSA, if you guys know what that is, local service ads. And then also we have Zillow. We've always had a small engagement with Zillow, and then that just became a lot bigger as we became a flex team.
Okay. Ylopo, can you share a little bit about what that is?
Ylopo is a tech company. That's all I'll tell you that they are. They're a tech company. And rather than
Everybody's a
going
tech
out,
company.
yeah, I mean, well, a lot of people will tell you it's not a real estate portal. It's not a, way to search for homes or anything along those lines. But they do build out our website, our main website that we have. They do provide leads. They also provide the leads that are coming in, the filtering of the leads through Facebook, Google pay-per-click, and all of that. And then also follow up with AI technologies and home evaluations. So they provide us leads when people are out online looking. They get them onto our site by putting out ads, and then those leads come into us. That lead is a higher quality lead than typically you would see somebody just selling a Google pay-per-click lead. That's one of many things that they do. They have open house tools. When people log in, they come into our CRM. There's follow-up through that. There's heat maps that they create. It's a whole slew of a platform for real estate agents. And we've done really well with them over the years. We've been with them almost since the very beginning, once they started Ylopo. And they've been a great company. The leads convert well. So we do a good job with them.
So you've got them, you got ZBuyer, you got Zillow, you got Google. So all that then funnels into your CRM, to your main system, right? And then as agents, then I'm going in there and working it. So now do you have structure, like protocols set up for how people then work these leads and auto campaigns and processes that then, once they're in, then what happens next? And everybody then has to follow that and all that's tracked and accounted for?
100%. We now have it. So lead comes in, lead source identified, agents are notified. So depending upon the agent, depending upon what leads they're receiving on the team, that all depends on if you've tested into certain things, the level of agent that you are, and how you show up in our world. If you're making team meetings, making morning calls, and doing the things that we require.
You got to earn the right to get into this. I don't just show up and boom, I get
Yeah,
leads.
you've got to work your way into it. It just doesn't show up in your world. Once those leads come in, the agents are supposed to be reaching out, but basically we use Follow Up Boss as our CRM, and they're all created in smart lists. So the agents basically have a list on the left-hand side of people to call for the day. And that's all that they need to do in their CRM.
And
So
that
they just
does
need
it
to look at the
automatically for them.
CRM.
So I log in and I just got my names right here. And so I got to call today
Yep.
based on what it knows.
It's all created. And the minute they call, it disappears off that list. And whether they have a conversation, it moves a different status like nurture, or, it could have a bad phone number. It has to go back into a system rotation to get a new phone number. There's all kinds of things that we can move them in status wise. But let's just say we call you and you don't answer, it just goes off that list for the day and it'll pop back up, and it'll do that 10 times in the next 10 days before it's removed. So, to see if we can reach that person, and then also we have drip campaigns built out. So all of that's built into our system. So we're only talking to people that have reached into our world to ask us to speak to them, whether they're filling out a form online about a home value, or they are, online looking at houses and asking for more information. we're not just randomly cold calling people, everybody on the street, seeing if they want to buy or sell real estate.
So with all those leads that are coming in, what's your mix? Excuse me. What is your mix between leads coming in like that? I guess I would call them, they're not cold, but you don't know them, right? Versus your referral, your past clients, your repeat, your sphere of influence type of business.
For the agents, it's much different from me. I mean, my agents rely heavily on the leads. A lot of them don't have big SOIs. For me personally, I only run one type of lead that's just Z buyer. Those are a lot of as is properties. We do take listings off of there as well. Is what I work. The agents work the rest of the style of leads and stuff. So, and the agents also work Z buyers. I just work them sometimes, just as far as getting calls out and going on those
Now,
appointments.
are you doing anything as a team for your past clients to generate more referrals from them? Are you guys doing events? Are you guys doing anything like that? Because you have so much coming in, that I can see it also being like, I've got so much flow coming in that I don't necessarily need to do more to really work what I've already had. I'm just
Yeah.
continuing to just maintain what's coming in the door. Or are you doing both? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we stay in touch with all of our past clients. We do have events. We did have the last event. One of our events we did was at the end of the year. We had a big Santa Claus event. Everybody came out, big Candyland, all kinds of stuff to do. Santa Claus was there. Place was completely decked out. Bring your families, get your pictures done, professionally done. Skip the lines everywhere. We do the pie event every year. I think we're on track to do a movie event here in a couple months. So there are those things that we do throughout the year for our clients to stay in touch. We're heavy. I'm, definitely heavy in reaching back out to my past clients and staying in touch with them, either by giving them calls, getting on social, talking with them that way, or text follow up. Just, a lot of people just become friends through time. We become the trusted advisor for them. And so if anything comes up in their world, they need their house painted, they need a plumber, they need this, they're always contacting me or we're reaching out to them.
So you've got your team, you got your brokerage, you got a family. How many deals a year are you closing yourself right now?
Geez, I don't know the number. I think I've sold out like this year, 14 million in homes already this year.
What was last year?
Last year was a tougher year. It was about 23. I did about 23 million last year.
Tougher year.
Again, I'm still in the mix every year. So right now, so I haven't gotten to Dave Nations yet. I'm working to get there.
I'm interviewing you so I can learn from you. This is great.
Yeah.
You mentioned social media. What does social media look like for you? What does social media look like for your team? How's that
Yeah.
integrating into all of your business for you guys?
Sure. Social media for me needs to be way better. I put up stuff with my family, put up a house once in a blue moon. I don't run a lot of business through it. We put up stuff for our team page, but I absolutely have a team of rock stars that put up stuff on social media and generate leads off of it all the time. And they're up, they'll put up our list, all the listings, get everything out, tours. And one of our agents just absolutely crushes it, probably closes 10 homes a year off social media alone, the people that reach out to her organically through social, and continues to do well with it. It's one of our weak points, I would say, for at least me I didn't grow up, it's not necessarily my world that I want to be on social every single day, but it's something that obviously we need to work on to continue to grow.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the case for most people. Social media is probably the largest opportunity, but you've got people that are using it and people that are getting success from it. So that's great. Switching gears just a little bit. I'm curious, share a little bit about your investing side of the business. I know you also do that as well, right? Along with running the brokerage and running the team. And you've also dabbled a little bit in flipping and own some rentals, right?
Yeah. So probably about 10 plus years ago, I kept, going to closing tables, watching investors buying and selling homes, getting big checks. I was interested, and I finally, it's actually more than that. It's probably about 15 years ago. I finally did my first flip and got into it. And I really enjoyed flipping properties. And then I would say about 4 years after I got into flipping homes, I started to get into rental properties as well. So I bought my first multifamily, renovated it, moved the tenants in, had a cash out refi. I was in it for, $0 out of pocket, was making money. And I kind of caught the bug in regards to rentals. So I've got 55 rental doors right now, and that keeps me busy. I have a whole nother company called the Agency Properties that we run, and so we've got 4 renovations going on right now, and then the rentals as well.
And you manage all those rentals yourself, correct?
I now have a guy that manages that stuff for me in house, so I brought somebody on to actually run that company. That company was always run by me on the side.
Yeah. Last time I talked to you, you were doing that too. One of my questions was, how are you doing all of this?
It kept me very, very, very busy. And I know there's an opportunity to grow there. Me personally, between rentals and flips, I really enjoy flipping homes. There's a joy in it, like being able to create something, put it back out on market, stage it. Obviously out with buyers all the time. We know what people are looking for. So there's a joy in doing that and getting those homes out to market and just having fun with that. As opposed sometimes just doing rentals and getting rentals ready and moving people in.
So you have the guy that's managing your properties. Is he doing other work as well, or is he just managing your doors?
He manages my doors. He does all the renovation stuff. So he doesn't swing a hammer. He gets everybody out to those properties.
Project manager kind of guy.
Yeah, he's basically project managing everything. Our goal is to get into new construction. So we're really looking to get into new construction in the next year and really get our first build going and start to head that route with a lot of it. So we think there's a big opportunity in new construction in St. Louis. So we're looking forward to doing that.
Two things here. How many homes do you flip a year on average? Question.
I would say about 6 right now. That number is going to go up pretty quick.
And then when you talk about new construction and there's an opportunity in St. Louis, are you speaking specifically single family? You talking about building condominium complex, apartments? Like what are you talking about when you're saying new construction?
Honestly, I would, just because it's the world that I know, I would stay in single family homes. So I just think that there are some opportunities, at least in larger homes, to do some other things. We don't get a lot of ranches built here. I'd love the opportunity to like start building ranches out once we get to that phase. That would probably be a few years down the road before that would be coming out. But before I start taking on, building out 3,500 square foot ranches on acre lots, it's going to be a while. But it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to getting into.
Yeah, I think the ranches make a ton of sense. I think it's just trying to find lots that you can fit them on to make the economics make sense is the challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. So, man, so you literally do a little of everything. How do you manage your time?
I
And I ask that because obviously you have a lot going on, but I also know so many agents are always, I'm so busy. And, they'll close 7, 10, 12 deals in a year. You're
yeah.
doing that in a month and doing all these other things. How do you prioritize? I mean, you have to be really focused to do what you're doing in the amount of time you're doing it in, because I'm pretty sure we have the same amount of hours in a day.
Yeah, we do. One of the best things I ever heard is do you know what the acronym of time stands for? And it's that is my excuse. And people use it as an excuse all the time. My days start at 3:30 in the morning, and I get up, do my workouts. I'm home by 6 o'clock in the morning to be able to see my kids, get my kids off to school, spend time with them. I'm very big about not missing events, and that's where I fit a lot of my personal, like me time, personal time is my mornings. I'm in my office by 9 o'clock every day. There's many days I'm not home. I try to be home by 6 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock, but I'm just constantly moving on my phone, following up, doing what I can with people, meeting with my team meetings, obviously as a broker for my company as well, there's fires that I have to deal with. But, it is possible. I just think a lot of what we see in the workforce today is people do a bigger task and then feel that they need a break. I just don't work that out. I just don't work that way. I just continue to go. And every morning I write out my task list and what needs to be accomplished for the day. What are my high priority items and stuff? And I highlight right through them every single day to make sure that everything that I need that's on my plate, whether it's taking care of something with billing on one of the companies or dealing with a client and following up, writing contracts, that all of that stuff's taken care of. And then if there's anything I need delegated out, that I can get that out first thing in the morning to the team members.
What's the total size of your team right now? How many people are on it? What's the mix?
There's 15 people total on my team. We've got a total of 26 here at the brokerage. And so we're going to continue to grow the team. Right now, we're looking to push the team up to 25 agents by the end of the year.
And so when you say 15, you have 15 agents on your team.
15.
Okay, I didn't know if 15 was that and like an admin or two or however, where do they
No,
fall?
there's 15 people on the team right now. We need to grow it because of the opportunities we've got in front of us now. So we've needed to grow it. And we're going to be recruiting big time to bring on the right people to join our organization.
May have just stolen my next question, which was what's next for you, given all the things you have going on?
Yeah. So right now, my focus, believe it or not, I'm going to be selling some of my rentals. I'm kind of going to downsize that piece of my business, to focus more on, my team, growing my team and a lot of that stuff, focus on more flips, getting into new construction. And so for me, my focus is growing my team, my organization here. That is number one priority, is doing that first and foremost, then also growing my other companies. And then most importantly, the goal of all of this is to be able to step back a little for me and, not be out selling homes every single day and working with clients every single day. So there'll be a point as we continue to grow, as I can continue to step back more and more, not to reduce work necessarily, but to be able to put myself in a seat to be able to help lead the careers below me more and more and have more hands-on opportunities with all of my agents.
That's awesome. I love your energy. I think what you got going on is phenomenal. By listening to what you were just saying, my other question is, how do you know when enough is enough? You're going to keep growing,
Yeah.
building, keep doing those things.
Yeah.
And people ask me that from time to time, when's enough enough? And I don't have an answer to that. Curious if you do.
It's I think for some people, I believe you're probably wired the same way I am. There's never enough. It doesn't matter if a $5 million deal landed on your plate today, you'd be looking for the next deal tomorrow. It just, I think we live in a generation where a lot of people that I'm seeing today, if they had that $5 million deal land, they would take a year off, right? And it's never enough. But for me, what's important to me, if somebody said, what's your number one thing? It's my family, my kids, and being there for my kids and not missing opportunities to spend time with them. That is the most important thing to me. I think all of us get to a phase where you make enough money and, you know, we always looked at wealth, as young individuals, and you chase it. You get to a phase in your life where you're able to afford certain things, which obviously is nice. But ultimately, now for me in my career, my biggest thing that's really cool for me is watching the younger generation under me, watch them go from barely having anything to buying new cars and houses and growing their families and their businesses under my organization, that we've provided them these opportunities. So for me, it's not all about money anymore, but I do have a drive to me. If I am the same person I was a year ago, it's kryptonite to me. I literally, if somebody's like, what's your kryptonite? I'm like, tell me I'm the same person I was a year ago. I constantly read. I constantly look for new education. How can I grow? How can I help lead? How can I provide value? How can I be a better father, husband? I make errors in everything, but I constantly try to look to be a better individual and continue to grow in every aspect of my life. So there's always something I'm challenging myself to do, whether it's working out. I'm doing a half Ironman this year. I did an event last year called 29029, which is hiking the height of Mount Everest, and a 36-hour endurance event. I'm constantly looking to push the envelope in everything that I do. Every year, I'm like, what am I doing? What's the big event for me? So that's kind of the mix. I don't ever think it'll be enough. I just think try to find, and people say, well, you can't find balance. I just try to, you have to find what makes you happy in the mix that works for you. But money is only a tool to make memories with the people that you love. That's the only thing I believe about money, because other than that, that's it. I mean, that is the best tool for it.
Love it. So you mentioned you read a lot. What's a book recommendation for those listening?
I'm reading a cool book right now called Unreasonable Hospitality.
I
It's out
just talking
on
about that book this morning.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So somebody recommended it to me. I'm big on like buying books, and I finally like got on a Kindle, and I'm like, now I'm like game, like I could just get them as I'm going, not carry like 10 pounds of books with me. That's an amazing book. If somebody like, my favorite book's by Bob Chapman, who's a local St. Louis guy. And now I'm going to forget the name of it. I'll think of it here in a second. But he has a Bob Chapman wrote a book, and it's about taking care of your people and your organization and stuff. He actually runs a university and is an amazing individual. So I'll have to think of the name of it now that I'm on here. I'm forgetting it. So
Yeah, no problem. Let's see if I can find it real fast, but we'll see. Let's see here. Bob Chapman book. Everybody Matters, The Extraordinary
that's it.
Power of
There you go.
Caring for Your
Everybody
People
matters.
Like Family.
Yeah. So it's about taking care of the people in your organization and stuff. So the big piece behind the book, one of the biggest things behind it is this. Bob was at a wedding. There's a whole great story behind it. If you're especially from St. Louis, it's a great read. But beyond that, it's amazing read about taking care of people in your organization and not firing all this other stuff. But he was at a wedding, and he was sitting there and he was watching the bride being given away as one of his employees, and he realized that he was going to spend more time with the bride than the husband was. And really what a responsibility that was as an owner. And, he thought about the ceremony itself and, a father giving away his daughter and stuff. But there's a whole background to that and how he grew that organization and things he gave up to make sure that he didn't have to let anybody go when times got hard. And he took over Barry Way Miller, which worked on like bottling manufacturing, but they buy businesses and they go in and they improve the businesses and turn them into basically A grade companies. And they're absolutely an amazing firm and everything that I've seen with them. So
I've not read that book, so I'm adding that one to the
yeah,
list.
it's definitely a good one about taking care and leadership and all that stuff. So it's an amazing book.
Yeah, and Reasonable Hospitality is a phenomenal one. I literally
Yeah.
was talking to that about that book again today with one of the agents on our team. So that's another
It
great.
makes you when you go out to dinner, you're like, man, they really need to up their game here.
100%. Well, and just in anything you start doing with
Yeah.
service, right? But for sure in
Yeah.
dinner, or in eating, because that's what it's all about. Last question before we end today. Love to ask my guests, what's the funniest thing, strangest thing, whatever, like the most bizarre thing, whatever you want to say, that's happened to you in real estate. You've been at this for a long time. So what's one good story you can share with us?
Oh gosh. I mean, probably the funniest thing that's happened to me, which, was laughable but somewhat scary, was I literally was I was with some new clients of mine. We were out in Clayton and we they had their baby and they're like, we go outside, there's a stairwell outside this property. It was a metal stairwell to go downstairs. And I turned around, I was in a pair of dress shoes and I turned around, I was like, whatever you do, don't slip and fall. And literally at that moment, I went sliding down. So right in front of them, and I stood up and I could barely walk. And they're like, "We're good. There's no need for us to, there's no need for us to go down the stairs at
Yeah.
this point." And I literally had to go to like urgent care. My leg was like swollen out. I mean, so it was quite. I was like hobbling to my car, and they were kind of like mortified. So it was
You're trying to pretend like you're okay.
yeah,
Meanwhile,
I'm
you're
like,
like, oh my God, I think my leg
it's
just
all
fell off.
good. I'm totally fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah, so that was probably
You didn't break
one of
anything?
the things where I kind of felt like an idiot too. So we all have those moments. I think I've let a cat out before, early on in my career. That was always, you're like trying to like, here, kitty, you're trying to like get it, and it's like, please don't let me lose these people's like cat that's probably never been out of the house. So I was very cautious after that, like anytime going into a home. So
You
you learn
found
really
the cat,
quick
right? The
lessons.
cat got brought back in?
Yeah, I literally caught that cat and I've never let one out since. I'm like, anytime someone's like, there's pets, I'm like, be careful, there's pets. And, I don't know if you know this, but it is very common for any client, anybody to just, when they walk outdoors, they just leave them open.
Yes.
They,
I don't
I'm
know
like,
why.
you know, which is fine. I'll take care of it. But at the same time, I'm just like, there might be an animal in this house I don't know about it. And I don't want to let it out the door. So I've yet to release any more cats. How's that?
Good, 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 good. Well, Justin, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, has more questions, wants to talk to you about real estate investing, brokerage, any of those things, how do they find you?
Yeah. So you obviously I'm on all social channels. You can find me anywhere there. So Instagram, Facebook, you name it. But also my cell phone, you can reach directly out to me. I work directly with everybody. So if you need to reach out to me, my cell is 314-280-9996. Just give me a call. Shoot me a text.
Justin, appreciate you coming on today. This was
Thanks,
awesome.
brother.
You have a ton of things going on. The energy you have is amazing. And I think if people could get half of what you have from an energy standpoint, there'd be so many more successful real estate agents that are out there doing what you're doing. So thanks again for being on the show, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate the time. And I appreciate everything you've done to help me out through my career as well. So I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for listening to Realty Resilience, and stay tuned for another episode coming up. Talk to you after a while. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Realty Resilience. Be sure to join our free Realty Resilience Facebook group where real estate professionals connect, share strategies, and access resources. You can also follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insights. And remember, we release new episodes every 2 weeks. See you next time.